Hey Zeke, thanks for joining us for our Ask a Season Leader talk here. Looks like you're at home in Canada. How's it going there? How's the weather?
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. It's really nice, nice day. It's a little fresh this morning, but the sun's shining and things are good.
And you're out working cattle earlier today. Can you kind of let us in on what you've been up to on your day-to-day at home?
Actually, I was just getting my cows in. They're always getting out, getting it in Glenn's crop field. So, no, that's what we've been doing. I guess we've just been shipping some yearlings, some grass heifers that we had here for the summer, and um, moved a little bunch of cows around and trying to get Glenn's crops off, but the weather hasn't cooperated quite enough for that.
Do you guys have a bunch of snow there right now?
No, we really don't. Just enough to kind of put a little bit on the ground, but it's just cold and enough moisture in there. It just makes it too tough.
Been getting any practice in right now with that weather?
No, haven't really done any of that stuff. This time of year, I like to come home and I just hang out and just ranch, ride my horses, rope if the weather permits, but just get some family time and enjoy not being on the road, I guess.
I bet you've been on the road all summer. Kind of talk about your season. Let's first back up. When do you really start your rodeo season?
I usually start my rodeo season about the second weekend of January, and it goes clear till September 30th, 31st, 30 days in September, I guess. And then I usually take October, we'll go to a couple. We got a bronc match in Newtown next weekend coming up. It's a pretty big one. It's new. Got 60,000 added. It's a 3-4 header, I think. And so that's going to be pretty exciting. Somebody's going to win a lot of money out of that deal and get a good start to the year. And then we'll go to the Canadian Finals, obviously, here in Red Deer coming up the end of October. And then into November, we'll get done with the CFR in Red Deer. And then we'll take a couple weeks, I guess, and get ready, primed up for the NFR. We've got to head down there about a week early. Jane's roping, so we might even go a little bit early this year, so she can go down and rope a little bit beforehand. Just kind of play that by ear. But yeah, we'll head down there, and then we spend about 15 days minimum in Vegas, and then we'll come home, spend Christmas with the family, and it starts all over again for me about a week after Christmas, basically.
So sounds like you rodeo hard all winter long, but when do you start your Cpra season? What's kind of the first weekend that you come up for that?
Usually whatever kind of the first rodeo going on. Medicine Hat, I usually don't pay attention and get my card bought, or I haven't the last couple of years in time to enter that. But usually Medicine Hat, and then Coleman and Stavely, I guess, are on the same weekend. And I guess that's kind of, I don't know when that is, end April, I guess. And then really get going with Falkland and all them in May. And then June is, we kind of spend most of, April, May, and June at home there, up here rodeoing in Canada. And then about the end of Wainwright, we go to Reno, and then back here for Ponoka and Airdrie, Williams Lake, and then we're pretty busy from then on.
Let's talk about the start of your season this year. You're going into CFR with a lot of money. How much of that was won kind of in that early spring season for you?
Yeah, it actually just went really good everywhere. Everywhere we went, it seemed. I guess I placed it pretty much every rodeo. Started off pretty hot at like Grand Prairie. I won that one. Won the first round at Wildwood. I split the win in Leduc, and I won Handhills. That was all that one weekend. And it just started off there. I probably won over 10,000 that weekend, and just it kept going on from there. I guess ended up second in Wainwright. I don't even know what else is in there, but it was good. Win Ponoka, and yeah, it's just been good all year. I was just really lucky.
Speaking of your win at Ponoka, like you swept it there, won the long round, won the finals, won the average, won the bonus round. almost 20,000 in CPR earnings that counted towards the standings. What did that mean for you at that point in the season? Not only for your CFR qualification, but for NFR too.
That was huge. That actually, Pinocchio is kind of over the whole fourth, Cowboy Christmas they call it, and that made my 4th of July run, because I didn't place but maybe one other place, and it wasn't a very big check. So that I think I was in the paper for one of the highest money earners in total over the fourth, but it was all out of that one rodeo, and that just goes to show how cool that rodeo is for the amount of money that you can win, and the payout, and the format, and it really meant a lot to me, because nobody wants to get skunked over the 4th of July.
What about the rest of the season in the CPRA? You kept ticking along all season. So any other wins that really stood out for you?
Yeah, the one between Pinocchio and then I would have to say the hard grass bronc match down there in Polkville. 40% of that one too, and it was that's a really cool bronc match. It hasn't been around for just a couple years, and if you like bronc riding or just like rodeo in general, you need to go watch that, because it's an amazing deal that they put on, and that one was pretty special to me.
So for someone outside of rodeo, what does it mean when you 40% won?
Well, yeah, you win all the rounds. I guess if it's like Pinocchio's 3 rounds, you win the long round, the 12 round, and then the bonus round, or you like at Polkville, I guess they have a long round and then a short round, and so the 40% of the pot is the payout, and when you 40% win, you win as much as you could possibly win.
Let's talk about your competition. Who really stood out to you in the top 12 this season?
Man, there was a lot of young kids that kind of come out of the woodworks this year that obviously have been riding in amateur rodeoing and stuff. But if you don't watch or pay that much attention to those kind of rodeos, you would probably never have heard of them. And they come onto the CPRA scene this year, kind of got their cards and stuff. And I think there's probably like 6 new guys or something that are first-time CFR contestants in the bronc riding, which is 6 or 7 of them. That's over half the field is first time bronc riders. So that's pretty cool. But there's a couple guys that rode really good this year. Ben Anderson, he's a young kid, just come on this year, and he kind of set him on fire. Really, he rodeoed hard, but he won a lot, and he rides really good. Logan Hay, Dawson's younger brother. Dawson, he made it last year. There's Cole Ashbacker, Jake Burwash. There's a pile of young kids that ride really good, and Colby Wanchuk, and they'll be there for a long time to come.
Now, that was something I was going to ask you, actually. There are a ton of first-timers in the bronc riding at CFR this year, and I think you're right at 6. I have, as far as I know, Jake Burwash, Logan Hay, Jake Finley, Ben Anderson, Colby Wanchuk, and Dawson Dom. What does that say to you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what does that say to you about bronc riding when there's that many first-timers at CFR in one shot?
To me, I think that there's a strong contingent of young bronc riders coming up, and that's awesome to see for the sport of rodeo. That's great for the sport of rodeo, and it's going to make the competition that much more fun to watch. And it's awesome to have interest, for young guys like that, especially a group of guys that kind of grew up, riding broncs together, learning together. It's kind of like the era when, which has been a few years back, but when me and Jake Watson and Clay Elliott and Leighton Green, it was kind of all of us grew up riding and learning together, and that's what these guys have done, and it's really cool to see. It's fun to watch.
I was just going to ask if that sounded familiar to you, because I definitely remember, you guys are all the same age and all were making CFR and NFR at the same time, and so it's really cool to see. You mentioned Ben Anderson. Let's talk about some things that impressed you about him this year. He's 25,000 behind you right now, but he is the number 2 guy in Canada and a first-timer going into CFR. What's special about Ben?
Man, he's just a young guy. He's just hungry for it, and the biggest thing when I watch Ben ride is he gets good spur outs, really good spur outs, and he tries hard. Things might not be going perfect for him, but he tries. There's no quit in him. And I think I watched him there in Strathmore at one of the Pro Tour rodeos, and he had a little horse that was not easy to ride and bucked hard and threw some nasty stuff at him, and he just kept scratching and going at him. And a horse a lot of guys would have got bucked off or made probably a bad ride on. Ben, he got by him and won something, won a good check out of there. So he'll be around for a long time. Ben's dad Chris rode really good, so he's got it in his blood, and he's hungry for it.
What about the Hay Boys? It's pretty cool that both of them are making this far together, and I know you've competed with your brothers growing up too. What do you think it means to them to be side by side at CFR?
Oh, that's a pretty special thing for them too. Just like Ben, which they're actually cousins to Ben, and so it's kind of a family deal they got going on, and they might before long be like the Wrights of Canada, who knows? But that'll be pretty fun for Logan and Dawson, and especially for Roddy and Shelly. I don't know if Shelly might not stay in her seat for very long. She'll be cheering so hard.
Should be a typical rodeo mom. I think I've seen yours do that too.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about kind of our young guns at CFR, but there's also three of you, yourself, Dawson Hay, and Jake, that are headed to NFR. And then there's also two guys that are past qualifiers for the NFR. What does that say to you about the level of competition people are going to see at the Canadian Finals?
It will honestly, it'll be a lot of the same horses that'll be going down to Vegas for the NFR. Like you said, same riders and riders and guys that have been there and done it before. And just a couple of them guys like Jake Finley and Colby Wanchuk, and them guys barely missed making the NFR by, it was a crazy tough year, and they barely missing it. They were top 20 contestants, and it'll be great watching, great bronc riding. The stock will be awesome. I know we went through the stock and picked the horses, and I wouldn't miss it for the world.
So speaking of the stock, what are we looking at for CFR this year? And can you kind of lay out some of the pens? You don't have to list all the horses, but there'll be 3 different pens at CFR again, I assume. And what are those going to look like?
Yep. We pick them in pens. We picked what you call like a one pen would be like your hopper pen, and then just the nice horses. Everybody, they're not going to buck too many guys. They probably won't buck anybody off those nights. Everybody's going to make a good ride. Everybody will probably be, you'll see the winning ride will probably be an 87 to, everybody will be over 80 points. It'll be tough, tight packed scores that night. And but we're going to start the 2 pen is the Eliminators for up here at the CFR. So we're going to start with the Eliminators the first night. Those are the horses that are hard to ride. Lots of ducks, dives, tricks to them, but buck hard. And you'll probably see a lot of Cowboys go flying and get bucked off that night. But the guys that do stay on usually rode a dragon, and they'll get rewarded for it. You'll see horses like Tiger Warrior and things like that in there. And then you go to the TV pen, what they call it is like the best horses going, the ones that you can be the most points possible on, but if you stub your toe, they'll buck you off. And you'll have horses like Get Smart and Stampede Warrior and things like that are in those 4 rounds. And it'll be awesome. We pick the horses, a great pen of horses going, and great group of bronc riders going. It'll be a lot of fun.
You mentioned the E-Pen is going to be first this year. Is that a change, and what was the reason for it, if it was?
I think we started with the E-Pen last year. Or no, we didn't. We started with it one year. The last year was in Edmonton. I think they just because the bareback riders they want to start with their hopper pen. So the bronc riders will start with their E-Pen, because it will be bad if you went to watch the rodeo and they bucked off 8 out of 12 bareback riders and 10 out of 12 bronc riders or something. So we just kind of, swap, do the opposite of what the bareback riders do.
Does that affect you at all?
Of it.
Mm-hmm. Does that affect you at all as far as your competition goes, would you rather start with the E-pen when you're fresh, or would you rather work your way up to something like that?
To me, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not really not that old, but I feel like I've been doing this quite a lot, or, for a while. And, if I was some of them kids that have never been there for the first time and showed up, they're going to be nervous regardless. So, it's probably not going to matter. But to me, it really doesn't matter because, it's the horses you've been getting on all year. And I've been on probably most all of the horses that are going to the CFR at some point, and so it really doesn't matter when it comes to bronc riding. You just do what you can. You just do what you got control of, stick to the basics, and that's the way I go about it. So it really doesn't matter. But I think there's some of them young kids are wishing that we might have started with the hoppers or the easier ones, but it is.
I talked with some pro competitors, and a couple of them made the statement that titles are won in the E-pen. Do you believe that? And if so, why?
Yeah, because I think the guys that are the winners are the guys that can ride all different types of horses. When you get out there to CFR or Vegas, it's a lot of rounds. It's kind of a long week, and the guy that's going to be your champion is going to be the guy that rode every type of horse and rode through it and battled it out. There are lots of guys that can. That are extremely hard to beat on just a nice horse, or just a jump kicker, but, can't ride the tough ones. And I think the guy that should be the champion is a guy that can ride all of them.
We'll get back to a little more of my questions later, but we actually had some fans submit some questions that they wanted to ask you. So I'll run through some of those, and they were getting creative with them. So I'm excited to ask you. Our first fan, Danico, wants to know what sparked your desire to become an athlete of this genre. What made you want to be a rodeo cowboy?
I honestly don't know what made me want to be a rodeo cowboy, because from since I can ever remember, that's all I've ever wanted to do. Is I just love rodeo. I love all the events. I watch them all at all the rodeos. Rodeo. I just grew up in a ranching and rodeo family. My dad rodeoed. Both sides of my mom's family rodeoed. Like, I can remember being 4 years old, and just my grandma would send us VHSs of the NFR rounds that she'd record, and I would just watch those over and over and over and just wear them out, just watching them. And I can't really say that's all I've ever wanted to do. And that's what I played and did when I was just little, and I grew up just craving it, and that's what I said I was going to do, and that's what I did, I guess.
All right. Dom would like to know how old you were when you started riding broncs.
I got on pretty young, but my dad, he put on a lot of bronc schools, and he's a great teacher, and he'd made the NFR, the Canadian Finals lots, and he knows what it's about, and he took pretty good care of me. I was probably 14 when I got on my first bronc, which I think is way too young for somebody. I would not probably put my kid on at 14, but but I just got on. I had an old horse, so just basically wouldn't even really buck, just lope around, kind of, and just make a little circle in front of the chutes, and I'd ride her a few jumps and fall off. And I got on her a few times, but just a couple. I didn't get on consistently and lots at that age, but it was a pretty controlled environment, and it was a safe horse. But that's pretty young. If I was to say, I think people should probably wait till they're long into their 15 or even 16, and just ride your spurboard. Don't get in a hurry. Ride the bucking machine, whatever you want to do. Even just riding a saddle horse, I think, is probably the best thing for anybody.
That's definitely something that you grew up doing, and you do, almost every day, I'm sure. How do you think that helps you as a competitor when you've got the broke horse side of things too?
I think it helps a lot, just even horsemanship in general, and then just having balance and feel for a horse. like I've gone to all them schools my dad put on since I was little, and then now I'm putting on schools and helping at schools. And you see kids that are, no fault of their own, but they come and, they can hardly stay on like the spur out horse, the broke gentle horse you put in the chute to practice spurring them out and stuff. And, how are you supposed to stay on one that's going to buck? So I think just balance and learn how to ride, and it keeps you active. And, there's a lot more to it than people think. I accredit that to a lot of my success. And, I think it's been awesome for me.
Now, these next two questions are on a little different track and have nothing to do with bronc riding. So Mason would like to know what convinced you to team rope too. We've seen you enter a couple rodeos now. So what makes you want to be a team roper as well?
I love roping. I love to ride my horses. Anybody that knows me knows that. And it's just I want to get qualified for all around one of these years, and have a shot at that. So I've team roped. I've roped calves. I did all the events in high school pretty much, and but team roping is one that's pretty easy to do at home. And my wife ropes, and her family ropes, and all the neighbors rope. My buddy Riley Warren, he'll be going to the CFR. He just lives up the road from me, and we rope all the time. And so it's just a fun pastime. I love to rope. I love riding young horses and training some horses, and it's just something I like to do.
Now, this next question actually comes in from Brent Lewis. And for anyone that kind of recognizes the name, Brent was a NFR calf roper back in our dad's day. So Brent would like to know, and he kind of already answered this, is it true that you're a calf roper too? And he'd like to know when you're going to break out and start on the trail.
Yeah, Brent, he knows that. I've went and stayed at Brent's place, and me and Brent are good buddies. And I roped calves. Like I said, I grew up in high school. I roped calves in college, and then I actually got a little more serious about it after college. And I've went to people's places like Brent's and John Rothwell's, and I roped calves and got some help from them kind of guys with horses and stuff, and they're awesome. But it's calf roping's a tough event for me when I'm gone so much, and then it's hard to keep your horses in shape. And the guys at calf rope, well, you would know your brother, they practice every day, and a lot of time goes into it. And I always feel a little bit behind the ball compared to those guys, but who knows? I might crack back out here again in the spring.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that for sure. Our last fan question comes from Parker and is more about the mental side of rodeo. So Parker would like to know, as competitive as rodeo is, how do you handle the aspect of competing against others in your sport? Wants to know if it's a drive to do better or to beat the other people, or if it's something different.
If anybody that knows me or has done any kind of game or anything, I'm super competitive person. I love competition. I love sports. I love watch other people in competition. Those big pressure situations and things. I just love to win. I hate losing. I don't feel like I'm a sore loser, but I sure don't like losing. But I love to win, and it's there's nothing cooler than getting in a situation where you got to beat 2 or 3 of the best guys in the world to win the world, to win 100,000, whatever it might be. And you really don't know how to deal with the pressure and of the competition, and until you can tell people, but until you're in that situation, you'll never know what it's like. And I've been in a lot of those situations now at this point in my career, and I feel like I'll have a lot to come. And I feel like I handle them pretty well, and it's I just love it. It's a lot of fun.
Now, getting back to the Canadian Finals, and this kind of goes along with our fan question there. How do you deal with not only physical exhaustion after 6 rounds back to back, but the mental exhaustion too? Like you said, there's pressures, and every day is up and down. So how do you mentally keep it going over 6 days or 10 days in December?
Yeah, it's it's a lot easier when you've been there and done it. Like, that's kind of one of them things when until you've been there and done it, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. The first couple, first time I made the NFR, first time I went to CFR, it was, I just put a lot of extra pressure and mental stress on myself for no reason, because nobody cares at the end of the day. It just doesn't matter, really. Like, I mean, so now the bronc ride and the physical part of it, I could get on. At the NFR, I could get on 20 head, and to CFR, I could get on 20. I mean, that part doesn't matter. You don't really get too banged up. I mean, unless you get in a bit of a wreck, you don't ever are sore or nothing. It's not like the bareback riders or bull riders. So that part of it's pretty easy. And then the mental part of it, I just love it. It's a lot of fun. That's what you worked all year to get there for. So if win, lose or draw, you might as well just enjoy it. And that's what I do. And that's where I find to have my most success and do the best. And like I said, at the end of the day, they're not gonna remember how you did anyway.
Now, we've talked before about you've won all of the big titles there are out there to win. You're world champion. You've won a bunch of the big rodeos. You won Calgary Stampede, a ton of those rodeos out there, but a Canadian title has eluded you so far. Is it going to happen in 2019?
I don't know if this is my year or not. I sure hope it is. I may never win one, but I've been the bridesmaid quite a few times, and I've come really close. I've never been the season leader going in there, though. Clay and Leighton and them guys, or Cody Demos, have always had a big lead. And then it's hard, you got to make up ground. And I've had a lot of success at the Canadian Finals, won lots of rounds, won a lot of money there, and gathered them guys up, but haven't quite got it done. So I guess this year somebody's going to have to try to gather me up, and hopefully they don't get it done.
All right, Zeke. Well, thanks for chatting with us and sharing a little bit of your story, and good luck at CFR.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on here. I appreciate it.